Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, I want to share a thought that's been on my mind for the past few days. Now, for those who missed it, this last weekend was the North American Fan Festival for Final Fantasy XIV, and fan fests are always about expansions. That is how they open every fan fest we've ever had, and this one was no different. In the opening keynote, they cold opened with the teaser trailer for Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Dawntrail, coming out in summer of 2024. Now, after the last couple of expansions and their trailers were really dark and gloomy, this one was bright and vibrant. It had a positive note, and it was what the community would describe as the beach episode trailer. It's our vacation. We're going to have fun and just experience adventure, and there's no more of this overlooming calamity that was, covering us for 10 years and trying to connect all those threads. And you know what? That's great. I actually love the trailer, I love the song, and I really love the positive vibes coming out of it because an adventure is something that I could honestly go for after what's been both a gloomy in-game last couple of years and a gloomy out-of-game last couple of years. That being said, when I think about all of the different trailers and teasers that we've had, I think of another one that was oddly happy-go-lucky given what that expansion was about. That was Stormblood, and that got me thinking, there's things I want to see them do with this expansion, but there's also things I don't want to see them do. And I think back to Stormblood, there's one thing in particular that comes to mind, and I want to talk about that today. Now, keep in mind, there's nothing to support this thought or theory or speculation. It's literally just that, so do not take this as an absolute, but feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below and engage with the topic. So going back to Stormblood, what is one thing that Stormblood did that I didn't like? Now, I'm not going to talk about the individual characters, the story beats, or anything along that particular note, at least not super specific, but there is one thing that Stormblood did that looking back, I wish they hadn't done. And that was the actual geographical locations they chose to focus on with that expansion. Now keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with focusing on Alamigo. There's nothing wrong with focusing on Hingashi and Doma and the Azim Steppe. In fact, I'm glad that we managed to open up so much of the world in such a short period of time. That being said, narrative issues did come with that because they basically split the story between these two areas, and it made both of them feel, at least to me, a little half-hearted. Now, don't get me wrong, they tie all the events together in a way that makes perfect sense. I don't think anyone would argue that, but just the disparity of the time spent between the two and how they work in the narrative, it just made me feel like both were half done. Now, I bring that up because Stormblood's trailer specifically focused on the geographical locations and didn't really set the tone for the story at all. We're talking about an expansion that was all about liberating nations from the Empire. There was blood, there was death, there was all sorts of really dark themes that were presented across both of these different regions. But the trailer is, hey, I'm sparring with Lise on top of Ralger's hand, and oh, there's a few Imperials, I'm a cool samurai dude, and look at how beautiful this place is. It has no sort of tonal connection at all with what's actually happening in the story, which is a far cry from the other ones, which do have something, even if the story's not necessarily told through the trailer, which thank goodness, the tones are all much closer to correct. You have the Heavensward one, which is very dark and loomy and mysterious because you're in this new land that you're not super familiar with against this new opponent. You have Shadowbringers and the traveling to the first and the number of threats and how, I guess, fruitless your previous endeavors kind of make you compared to what you need to become to overcome those challenges. And Endwalker is just coalescing all of these years of events in these locations and the end of days. It all kind of ties together, but Stormblood, you wouldn't even know that it's about liberating nations from watching that trailer. And I get that same feeling from the Dawntrail teaser, because we know we're going on an adventure. We know it's supposed to be a little bit more fun, but even Yoshida himself during the opening keynote says that obviously it's not all fun and games. There is a conflict that's occurring here, so bear in mind it's not going to be all happy-go-lucky. Makes me wonder how much of it is and how much of it isn't. How much of Dawntrail's teaser is supposed to make us feel this vibrant and positive nature, and how much of its story is it hiding underneath that is a little bit deeper than that? And then the Dawntrail teaser also focuses on the geographical location of Tyrol. It's not really trying to unveil a whole lot of what's actually going on. It's showing everybody off having fun and exploring and learning the new lay of the land. It has a brief moment of conflict, which again, it's really still more of a fun moment because, you know, the Warrior of Light is actually just enjoying himself in what looks to be a duel to the death with Gulul Jaja. So there's something else happening here, and we know that. But because of the focus on Tyrol in the first teaser, I'm wondering where we're going for all of our zone locations across all of the trailers. Because while Tyrol is this Mesoamerican inspired area, we do get the map and we do see a place that's more North American like, which I believe is where Blue Mage comes from, if I'm not mistaken. It's more from the North American tribes and less from the tribes around Tyrol. Although with the Mammal Jaw, maybe it does come from the Mesoamerica area. It's all of it's the New World. So I'd assume that all of it, that Tyrol and the North America and the South Sea Isles are all kind of attached in that way. But where are we going anywhere else? Are we only exploring Tyrol? Because we've got 2 zones so far. And then we probably have the City of Gold, which I would assume is one of the 6 areas we're going to be exploring. And is kept a secret like, you know, Azizla and the Tempest and stuff like that have been in the past. But then that leaves, if that's 3 zones, we usually get 6. So there's 3 other ones that we need to consider, and there's usually a second main city as well. If Tyrol has this one major city, what is the other one? Is it a location that's in the North American equivalent, the South Sea Isles? Or is it what everyone was suspecting the first time when we've been dealing with dragons for the past however many patches at this point, in that of Mericidia? Are we going to be going on a split adventure again? And personally, regardless of whether they do it or not, I kind of hope they don't go that direction. I'd rather they open up more areas of the New World to the west and save Mericidia for something a little bit later instead of trying to intermingle these stories. They presented this War of Succession as one of the major plot points of Dawntrail, and us traveling over to Mericidia, at least in my head right now, doesn't translate to something that we really should be doing when it comes to that, unless we need to enlist the aid of Tiamat and her brood for some reason. I just don't see why they would open up 2 entire areas in this particular case, and all of the different politics and cultures and regions that come with it, as opposed to really focusing on fleshing out this one, or at least the ones that are along kind of the same region of the world. That is the number one thing I'm fearing with Dawntrail right out the gate. If I have to be a pessimist about something, it's that. Now, even if they do split the areas, it's possible that they could do it better than they did in Stormblood. And I don't think they have to do too much more than they did, but I think they do need to put some effort into that. But I'm of the opinion, take it slow. You've already said that you've got 2 more expansions planned later. You have 3 more within the next 10 years on top of Dawntrail. I think at this point, if you're really, as developers, you know, Yoshi P as the director and producer, if you're in this for the long haul, then I think it's okay to slow down with what we're exploring, how we're exploring it, how much of it we're exploring, and just make sure to focus on fleshing out each individual area to its maximum. Because I think the player base wants that. We don't want to wonder why we can't go to this mountainous region to the north, or, you know, go to this lake-like area to the west that we've never seen. And then eventually that entire thing just becomes one dungeon and we can't really engage with the world as much as we would have liked. I would like to just see them flesh out these zones and make something that feels like a full Tyrol or a full new world. Anyway, it was just a random thought I wanted to share with you. Everyone's been sharing them with me, so it's only fair that I get to make videos sharing them with you. But let me know what you think in the comments section of the video below. Would you want to see Mericidia now that you know we're going to the New World? If we are going to other parts of the New World, what would you like to see in those areas? What cultures are you interested in? And what foods, I suppose. That way I have the taco. I have to think about the different foods that we'll see in the other locations as well. But anyway, this is far from the last topic we're going to do on this, or far from the last, I guess, tangent of this topic we're going to handle with this. But let me know what you think in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll be doing plenty of speculation on Dawntrail, covering all the news as it comes out for everything 14, and of course covering other RPG and Final Fantasy stuff along the way. We got Rebirth soon. Looking forward to that. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. And until then, take care.